Hey everyone, Till here. Today I'm reviewing the XPPen Magic Note Pad, which is a 10.9-inch Android tablet designed for note-taking, as the name of the product suggests. And this tablet comes with a matte glass surface, which is really nice to work on for writing and drawing. And of course, I will test the drawing performance of this tablet. First of all, disclaimer, this is a review unit provided by XPPen, and in this video, I'll just present to you my findings so that you can decide whether this is worth the money. And the price of this tablet is $439 US, and during the launch promotion, there is 10% off. This is the second standalone tablet that XPPen has released, and you do not need to connect this to a computer in order to write or draw on it. There is a built-in battery. There is OS and software, and there is Google Play Store, so you can install whatever drawing apps you can find from the App Store. The earlier tablet is the Magic Drawing Pad, which was released in January 2024. The Magic Drawing Pad actually has better specifications and more features, so if you're deciding which two tablets to buy, check out the comparison table that I have on my text review, which I will link to in the video description below. Alright, as usual, let me give you the bottom line up front. So I have been using this tablet for almost 1 month now, and I did not experience any major issues or problems. The only issue that I experience is there are certain apps from the Google Play Store that I use that cannot be installed on this tablet for some reason. The tablet comes with the MediaTek Helio G99 processor, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage, and the overall performance, I would say, is pretty smooth. No issues with note-taking or drawing. The tablet comes with the pen, which is the X3 Pro Pencil 2 version 2, compared to the one which was released earlier with the Magic Drawing Pad. And it comes with this flip case, which can get dirty quite easily. Design of this tablet looks a bit unusual because of this metal bezel here outside of the black bezel. So this is where you can attach the pen magnetically. The design looks alright. The build quality is extremely solid. The colors from this display look vibrant, the display is bright enough, and the matte glass surface is one of the main selling points for me because it's really satisfying to draw and write on. Drawing performance is quite good. There is pressure sensitivity and palm rejection works reasonably well. There is tilt sensitivity, but this pen is not designed for tilting low, so tilt doesn't work that well. The display is laminated, so when you're writing or drawing, it looks like the line is coming out from directly beneath the pen tip, and note-taking works really well. My handwriting style can be captured quite accurately. Overall performance with the various apps that I have tested is smooth and lag-free. There are no issues with multitasking, but 6 gigs of RAM is kind of limited, so if you open an app that you have opened a long time ago, chances are it's going to reload. With the purchase of this tablet, you will get a lifetime license for J-Notes, which is repackaged as XPPen Notes. J-Notes, by the way, is a very capable note-taking app with many features. This is another key selling feature. This display has 90 Hz refresh rate. When you're scrolling web pages or when you're zooming in and out while you are drawing, the animation is very smooth. The stereo speakers have better audio quality than I expected. There is good clarity and do not sound hollow at all. Downsides, the IPS glow on this display is more noticeable compared to other tablets that I have tested. The internal storage is 128 gigabytes, and there is no micro SD card slot. There is tilt sensitivity, but due to the pen design, tilt doesn't work that well. And I have tested other XPPen pens on this tablet, and tilt also does not work well. Overall responsiveness of this tablet is good, but if you use an app that is resource heavy, there may be the occasional lag or sluggishness, but it doesn't happen that often, thankfully. There is no camera on the back, so you cannot take photos, scan QR codes or documents with this tablet. And without the camera or camera bump on the back, you can actually place this tablet flat on the table for drawing and writing. So those are the pros and cons, and now let's move on to the full review. Let's take a look at the items included with the purchase. This is how the packaging box looks, and here we have the specification for the tablet. These are the items in the box besides the tablet. So we have the flip case, a 20-watt charger. The plug may vary depending on region and country, and this is a USB-C port, a 1 meter long USB-C to USB-C charging cable, warranty policy, quick start guide. This is the X3 Pro pencil tool, which is quite well made. Build quality seems solid enough. The surface is matte textured, and this is almost cylindrical, except there is this flat side here with magnets that you can attach to the side of the tablet. And this is quite comfortable to hold. This pen is not powered by battery, so no charging is required. There is one side button which may or may not be customizable depending on the app you use. The button has a firm click to it, and this pen supports 16,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. This is the pen tip remover. For this review unit, I only get 2 replacement pen tips. For the retail version, you will get 4. I'm not sure if you can see clearly, but the pen tip actually has a soft point here. There is actually tilt sensitivity. So now I'm drawing with minimal pressure, and this is with heavy pressure, and this is with tilt. Now the sound that you're hearing is actually the plastic part here going against the matte glass surface. Right, now the pen is around 45 degrees. If you tilt the pen too low, the plastic part will touch the glass and the pen tip will lose contact with the glass. So you will not be able to draw anything. And if you tilt this higher, tilt doesn't work that well. If tilt is working well, the lines and strokes here can actually be much wider. There is slight movement with the pen tip when it's in contact with the glass surface. And since the pen tip is soft, there is no tapping sound when you're writing or drawing. Let's take a closer look at the magnetic flip case. So having this thing here to accommodate for the pen that's on the tablet looks kind of strange because I've not seen such a design before. There are cases where the pen is beside the tablet so that when you close the cover, the case is still flat, but this looks like I will have to spend some time to get used to. The cover has this cardboard-like texture, but it's not cardboard, obviously. It's a nice texture. The case is quite thin, as you can see, and does not add too much weight to the tablet. I'm just glad there is a case included. So there is auto wake and sleep feature, and the surface inside has more texture compared to the exterior, and this can collect dust quite easily. So the tablet will attach magnetically to the case, which means you can detach the tablet very easily. So this flip case is just like this. There is no way to fold it into a stand. I highly recommend you buy a tablet stand for a more ergonomic and comfortable drawing experience. Now XPPen sells several tablet stands. However, the one that I recommend is this one, the Pablo PR100 that I have been using for several years. I love this tablet stand because there is this latch here that you can pull up to adjust the angle very easily. And this is a very stable stand, and I've been using this for years, so it's very durable. Let's look at the design of this tablet, which is quite interesting. The black bezels are thin and uniform on all 4 sides, and there is the metal silver frame exterior, and the bottom here is where you can attach the pen magnetically, and the magnets are quite strong. And this is actually quite useful in the sense that if you're using the tablet vertically like this and you are reading, this is comfortable to hold because it gives you a bigger area to grip. This is a laminated display with matte glass and the anti-glare is very effective. So let's compare that with a glossy surface and you can see the difference is very obvious. And the brightness of the display, which is rated at 400 nits, is actually bright enough to go through the diffuse reflection. But if there is strong light source, I mean, this is what you can expect. But when you are looking at the tablet straight on, the visuals look fantastic. I'm not sure if this is IPS LCD, but from the color quality that I see, this probably is IPS LCD. One thing that's quite obvious to me is for this display, there is obvious IPS glow from certain angles. I'm not sure if my camera can capture that accurately, but it is more noticeable compared to other LCD displays that I have tested. Maybe it's more obvious when the room is darker right now, but the overall lighting seems or looks quite even to me. This is an 11-inch display and the resolution is 1920 by 1200 and the aspect ratio is 16 by 10. So this is I would say pretty portable size and the drawing area is wider compared to A5 paper. This is an A5 size sketchbook, so you can see there is a bit more space on the left side. So when you have drawing apps open and there are palettes on the left and right, you can see the leftover space for drawing is minimized, but if you hide the palettes, you get more space to work with for drawing. So this is actually still a decent size to work with for drawing. On the right side, we have the volume buttons. At the top, we have the power button, and this button is for switching between different display modes, which I will show you later. One speaker on the left, another speaker on the right, and the audio quality is surprisingly good. USB-C charging port. Transfer speed is USB 2, and this cannot output video. This tablet does not have a tray for SIM card and SD card. The back has this off-white color, which looks nice. This is matte textured, feels nice. We have the rounded corners and the edges are also beveled. The sides are rounded. So this is a pretty comfortable tablet to hold. The weight of the tablet is 495 grams, so it's not that heavy for a tablet this size. Notice the tablet is completely flat without any camera bump. That's because there is no camera at the back. So if you need to scan QR codes, documents, or take photos, well, you can't do that with this tablet. There's a front camera here that supports face unlock, but it's not the secured type, so it cannot be used to unlock bank apps. And this is probably the light sensor for the auto brightness. The display quality looks pretty good to me. The display is sharp, the colors are vibrant, and the brightness is sufficiently bright. The company advertised 400 nits of brightness, so in the real world it's usually 10 to 20% lower. So this is probably 300 nits of brightness, which is more than high enough for use indoors, but if you're using this outdoors, it's not going to be bright enough, especially if you have the tablet under sunlight. Let's look at the different display modes you can use with this tablet. So when you press the shortcut button here, which is beside the power button, you will go into this user interface. Currently, I'm using nature color mode, and this will show high definition bright original colors. And there is this light color mode, which will show low saturation, soft color paper-like display effect. And lastly, there is the ink paper mode, which will show paper-like display effect with black and white ink. Before we switch to the different color modes, let's take a look at the comic page. By the way, I have the tablet on this stand right now because if I record this video while holding the tablet, you can see the color quality is not consistent due to the matte surface and also the IPS glow. So the colors look vibrant right now and the colors do look really good. This is how black looks, and these are some black and white pages. Okay, let's switch over to light color mode and enter. And as the conversion happens, sometimes you may hear this sound effect, but I've reduced the volume so you don't actually hear it. So the colors are now less saturated. Yeah, less saturated. And also if you look at the colors more closely, it looks like there is this sepia like tone to it. So this is the low saturation mode. So if you find the colors too bright and vibrant, maybe this is the mode you can choose. And now let's switch over to black and white. Where's the shortcut button? Okay, enter, and the conversion will happen again. And now this is just black and white. This is grayscale or monotone. The conversion from color to black and white actually looks really good. So the tones or the grays, the gradient, they are very smooth. And you can see a lot of detail, and these visuals, they look really sharp. And this is how line art will look. So earlier, this guy was wearing some red colored shirt and now it's black and white. So those are the 3 display modes you can use, and when you are using those display modes, you can see the the home screen UI will also change. In this case, they have removed the wallpaper. Now personally for me, I would go with nature or natural color mode, which I think looks good with the default color settings. Yeah, the colors look really fantastic, and thanks to the matte surface, it makes the reading experience really amazing, especially when reading comics. And this almost 11-inch display is good for reading comics because the text is sufficiently big for reading. If you are just reading text, it looks alright, although I would prefer to have this in a different color other than white so that the IPS glow is not as obvious. Yeah, sepia looks good. The visuals look pretty sharp to me. Now all matte textured surfaces will introduce some grain, color noise or anti-glare sparkle to affect image quality. And on this display, all that is kept to a minimal, so the image quality is very good. Let's talk about performance. This tablet is using the MediaTek Helio G99 chip, which is an 8-core processor. Overall performance is quite smooth. Apps are able to launch quite quickly unless it's a really huge app. Web pages can load pretty quickly, and thanks to the 90 Hz refresh rate, when you are scrolling, zooming in and out, the animation is very smooth. There is 6 gigs of RAM with another 6 gigs of virtual RAM, so effectively you just have 6 gigs of RAM. And RAM is, I would say, sufficient unless you have many apps open, but otherwise if you have a few apps open, most of the time when you open the app, you may not need to reload. But in this case, I did reload this very old app that was opened much longer ago, and this reloads quite quickly as well if you do need to reload apps. I did not test this tablet with games though, but I guess if you want to play games, just don't expect to play the games at maximum graphics or visual settings. Next, let's talk about the OS. For a tablet made for note-taking or drawing, this is sufficiently powerful enough for smooth performance. This tablet is running on XPPen OS, and I'm not sure what version this is, but this is running on top of Android 14. There aren't many features with this OS, but at least it's stable. So here, there is this pen icon that you can tap to open up some shortcuts which you can customize. And if you need more customization, you can always install your own launcher. I actually do not have much to say about XPPen OS. I mean, it's a very simple, clean OS. There is Google Play Store, and there are many capable drawing apps available from the Google Play Store. Oh, one thing I appreciate is there is no bloatware or adware. So the only extra app that XPPen has included is XPPen Notes, which is actually a variation of J-Notes. The purchase of this tablet actually comes with a lifetime license for J-Notes. And now let's take a look at the note-taking performance. One thing I like about the design of this tablet is there is no camera bump at the back, because there is no camera at the back, so you can place this tablet flat on the table like this for writing and for drawing. If you want to put the tablet on the case, the tablet will be inclined at this angle, which I don't quite like, so I just put the tablet on the table for better user experience. But if you have it without a case, this can glide on the table quite easily. If you don't fold this cover to the back, you can still have the tablet flat on the table when it's in the case. This tablet is a bit too slippery on my wooden table, so I have to use it in the case, and I'm going to use this in landscape orientation, so I just fold the cover to the back so that it's propped up slightly this way, better than propping up from the left side. Okay, so this app that I'm using is J-Notes. So let me just write a few paragraphs of notes just to test palm rejection. Writing on the textured surface feels great, and because the pen tip is soft, there is no tapping sound when you're writing. Now this app does support double finger undo. Thankfully, this two finger undo is not available with many note-taking apps. Display is laminated, so when writing or drawing, it really feels like the line is coming out from directly beneath the pen tip. Palm rejection works well, but it's not perfect. So by default, you will not be able to draw with your finger. So you can place your palm on the display while you write. And sometimes when I'm writing, I find that the page would zoom in suddenly because the app detects this zoom in gesture, but it happens rarely. So palm rejection works fine most of the time, but it's not perfect. Now, the pen does support pressure, so if you choose a brush here that supports pressure, you can actually get thin and thick lines. So here, you can see the line width is consistent because this brush does not support pressure. But here, I have used a pen that supports pressure, so you can get thin and thick lines. This app and pen can capture my handwriting style quite accurately, and there isn't much latency while writing. Now, J-Notes does have some latency, so as I draw this long sweeping line, you can see the line trying to catch up with the pen tip, but the gap between the pen tip and the line is not that big. With this app concepts, the latency is almost not noticeable, so there is almost no gap between the line and the pen tip. I am not going to talk too much about J-Notes because that will make this video much longer, but J-Notes is a very capable note-taking app from what I can see, because there are so many features and settings you can toggle, and you can sync your notes to Google Drive. And there is also text conversion to convert your handwritten notes to editable text. But the conversion doesn't seem to be as accurate compared to other apps. So take a look at this word customize, shortcuts, finger gesture, and shortcuts. So let's take a look at how I have written the words. Customize, this T was converted into R. Shortcuts, this is CUTS, this was converted into an N. I guess it looks like an N, so maybe that's my fault. Finger gesture, this is very legible, but here it converts the U into a W. Okay, maybe this is my fault here. So it seems like JNotes does not use any software correction to correct spelling or grammar. The location of the front camera is actually quite important when it comes to writing and drawing because this tablet supports auto brightness. So if you are using the tablet in such a way that your palm is always covering the camera, that's going to dim the display due to auto brightness. So you may have to disable auto brightness or just change to an orientation that better suits your handwriting or drawing style. Let's look at some of the pen customization features that are available in settings under advanced features. So here under handwriting touch, you can choose to disable finger gestures and only use the pen to do everything, and that obviously is quite inconvenient because you want to use your finger and your pen to do everything. There is handwriting offset, where you can move the cursor in whichever direction you prefer, depending on whether you're left-handed or right-handed. You can choose to disable or show the stylus cursor. Right now, I actually don't see the cursor, even though it's enabled. And there is this screen off notes. So when the display is black or when the tablet is sleeping, you can press the button here on the pen and double tap on the display to take a quick note. And under stylus, you can choose to display the floating button, which is this button here. So if this button always gets in the way, you can choose to disable that if you want to. And you can reposition this anywhere you like if you want to. And you can customize the pen button here. Right now it's not customized, but you can choose to customize it with these shortcuts, which is quite limited. There is no pressure curve customization here, so if you need to customize the pen pressure, you will have to use a drawing app that lets you customize pen pressure. Time for the line test, and the app that I'm using is XPPen Paint. And I noticed the UI elements are kind of big because of the resolution, 1920 by 1200, and there is no way for me to reduce the UI, the buttons for this particular app. So this brush is about 70 pixels and it's quite thick. Let's draw a slow diagonal line with minimal pressure. Let's use a ruler. Okay, this is, as you can see, really straight. So the diagonal line wobble and jitter that you see here is actually due to my handshake. I'm not sure how I should describe the initial activation force here. I mean, I am barely using any pressure to draw. Okay, now you can see the thinner lines. The thing is, it's kind of difficult to draw the extremely thin lines. And there is no pressure curve customization for this app, so for this app, it's difficult to draw thin lines when you have a thick brush selected. Which is to say that if you want to draw thin lines, you have to adjust the line width. But for apps such as Clip Studio, where you can customize the pressure curve, you can actually choose a really thick brush and just vary your pressure to get thin and thick lines easily. Next, let's look at how lines taper. Let me increase the brush size to 70 plus pixels, and this looks good. The lines are able to taper smoothly and sharply. Line transition from thin to thick. Yeah, it's difficult for me to get the thin lines here to be as thin as the line here, and even the lines here is not as thin compared to the lines here. So yeah, this pen has difficulty when it comes to drawing thin lines when a thick brush is selected. Line consistency looks good. I can maintain consistent line width by maintaining consistent pressure. No issues with drawing dots. Let's draw separate lines and join them to see if there are any issues with cursor misalignment. Okay, I can see there is this line that overshoots. Could be a mistake. Let's check for cursor offset. You may not be able to see this clearly because the front part of the pen is actually blocking the pen tip. Let me just tilt this slightly. So here you can see the cursor is almost directly beneath the pen tip. Now if I tilt this pen low at 45 degrees, I can see some cursor offset. Let's go into the XPPen settings to compensate for that. The cursor offset is to the right, so I need to move the cursor to the left. And now you can see my pen is at 45 degrees and the cursor is now directly beneath the pen tip. This is Clip Studio Paint, and I have already customized the pen pressure to allow me to draw thin lines easily, even with a thick brush selected. So this wasn't possible with Magic Paint with the default setting, but it's possible to get better line variation with apps that can let you tweak the pen pressure curve. If you are wondering whether it's possible to use other pens that are made for XPPen pen tablets or pen displays, some will work, some do not. So this is the X3 Pro pencil tool that came with the tablet. This is the X3 Pro stylus with two side buttons and an eraser. This will work. And there is also tilt, but tilt doesn't work well with this tablet. This is the X3 Pro roller stylus with a roller here. This does not work for some reason, even though I can see the cursor on the display. And this is the X3 Pro slim stylus, and this works as well. And there is also tilt, but tilt doesn't work well on this tablet. Tilt for the X3 Pro slim stylus actually works better compared to the X3 Pro pencil tool because the slim stylus has a more tapered design at the front, which allows the pen to tilt lower, and hence tilt can work better. Alright, let's talk about the drawing experience. Now, drawing on this matte glass surface feels really nice. Now, the texture is actually quite smooth. It is smoother compared to matte textured screen protectors, but the texture is actually very similar to the texture you can get with on pen display or pen tablets. So this is smooth, but you can still get a good amount of control over the lines. Oops, too thick. Now I'm using this app Magic Paint, and as mentioned earlier, the pen pressure doesn't seem to be as good compared to the pen pressure performance is not as good compared to other apps, but it's still usable for drawing. Let me just erase this. I'm trying to use the shortcut button, but in this case the shortcut button has been customized to the eyedropper, and for this app I cannot customize the pen button to the eraser. Yep. So whether or not you can customize the pen button will depend on the app you use. So in this case, I have to use the eraser to erase this. This drawing area feels kind of cramped because the UI is taking up a lot of space and I cannot adjust the size of the UI to make it smaller. So in this case, I have to hide the toolbar at the top. Oops. Okay, pen pressure actually works fine. Let's get some tapered strokes here. I like how the soft tip feels on the textured surface. Feels really nice. Let's create some hatching lines. So while drawing these hatching lines, I can see some latency, but it doesn't really affect the work. After drawing for a while, it seems like now my workflow is smoother. When you are shading on the tablet, you can actually hear the pen tip. I'm not sure how durable the pen tip will be because this is a soft pen tip against a matte textured surface, but chances are you probably will be able to buy replacement pen tips in the future. So these are some of the sketches that I have drawn. There are no issues with the line art, no issues with diagonal line wobble. The lines are very smooth and the lines are able to come out exactly the way I expect them to appear. And this is Clip Studio Paint. Since you can customize the pen pressure here, you can actually get the lines to be more accurate. The lines taper really well. I can get very expressive lines here. There is a bit more latency with Clip Studio Paint, but it's not really an issue for drawing. 10.9-inch display is actually big enough for drawing, but if you use drawing apps with many user interface elements, the amount of space left over for drawing is not going to be, well, as big as it can be. So it would be good if you can hide the palettes. Now for Clip Studio, you can actually switch to a simple mode. And this will give you the tablet interface, and you can see now the working area is more spacious. Battery life is about 8 to 10 hours. Of course, the battery life will vary depending on the app you use and also the display brightness. So I have been using this tablet at 67% brightness for almost 3 hours now, and the battery life dropped 30%. So 3 hours for 30%, that means the battery life was draining at 10% per hour when I was drawing. So it's actually not too bad. But the charging speed is actually really slow. So if you want to charge this tablet, it's probably best to, charge it overnight or have the time to actually charge it because it takes a long time to charge. Right, to conclude, this is a decent tablet for note-taking and for drawing. The experience of drawing on this matte glass surface is wonderful. And thanks to the matte glass surface, reading comics is very enjoyable as well. The visual quality looks really good. Clip Studio Paint is an app that uses a bit more resource compared to other drawing apps, so sometimes I feel like the app is not as responsive, but it still works fine. I think I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to say, so there are pros and there are some cons. Oh, these are actually the notes that I have taken while reviewing the tablet. If you're thinking of buying this tablet for taking notes, I think it works really well. Even for drawing, it works pretty well. So between the XPPen Magic Note Pad versus the Magic Drawing Pad, the Magic Drawing Pad has more features and better specifications. For example, You get 8 gigs of RAM instead of 6 gigs of RAM here. You get 256 gigs of internal storage with SD card slot instead of 128 gigs of storage here. You get a bigger 12 plus inch display versus 11 inch display. And the drawing performance is actually kind of similar, but that tablet of course is going to be more expensive compared to this one. But that Magic Drawing Pad has been out for a while now, so you can probably find it at a good discount during promotion periods. Alright, so I have covered all the pros and cons that I can think of for this product, and if you guys are interested by this, consider using the affiliate links that I have for you in the video description below to make your purchase to support my YouTube channel and the work that I do here. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye.